guys, welcome back. So today I am getting ready to redo the 3D files for C-3PO's hands, which if you remember I did a while back, posted a 3D printable version on Thingiverse, which I've been wanting to redo. This is kind of a different redo. Today we ordered some TPU 3D filament, which is a flexible filament, and one of the first things I want to print is C-3PO hand. And I need to remake the hand in a way that's printable in one piece without support material. And I want to correct some of the things that I had corrected previously, but I just want to redo it better so that it fits me well, easy to wear, easy to take on and off, and makes a good test. So I'm going to go through real quick and show you guys how I bring a file that I downloaded from Thingiverse, an STL file, into Zbrush to start modifying it. It's a few steps. It requires, I'm using meshmixer. You could probably do this in another program, but I use meshmixer as my intermediary to bring it into Zbrush. So we'll get into that now and have a quick look, and we'll do a little bit of Zbrush modification. Not all of it. I'm not going to go through the whole process, but maybe a few things that might help get you started. So let's go. All right, so I got Zbrush open here, but we are going to go to the files. These are all basically the raw STL files that I downloaded from Thingiverse. So we have the hands, which we're going to open here with meshmixer. Maybe. There we go. There we go. So now got two hands here. I could basically delete one and save out the one that I want, but I'm just gonna export both for right now. They're actually the same hand, mirrored, and it's a C-3PO right hand. So the left hand is just a mirror of the right hand. So the real ones are asymmetrical. So anyway, you go up here, File, Export, and you would save this as an OBJ file. I've already saved this out right here, C-3PO hand. So we'll come out of meshmixer and go back to ZBrush. We'll grab a sphere, draw it. We go to Edit, which is T on the keyboard, and we'll go to Import C-3PO hand. Now that'll load in. Now we've got two hands on the screen in ZBrush. So let's see if we can find our gizmo here, because we want to work on the right hand, which is this guy over here. So we are going to basically center this up. And to move the gizmo around, you hold down the Alt key. Might be different on Mac. I think it's still the same. Alt key on the keyboard, and you can grab these corners here and move your gizmo around wherever you want. So I'm going to put it onto the right hand, which will make sense in a second, roughly, just so we can find it again. We're going to take the left hand over here, and I'm actually going to switch to select mode. So we go to brush, and then we hit S and then L, and that'll make it a lasso mode instead of that rectangle. And when it's green, it'll keep that piece, and when it's red, it'll hide it. So basically it's shift control will make your lasso, shift control and drag, and then if you hit alt, it'll hide it. So now we've got our one hand here. This is the one we want to work on. I'm going to go to geometry. We go down to modify topology and delete hidden. Now that other one is gone. We're not going to use it, so it doesn't matter. So this guy, we can now rotate wherever we want. Now I'm in move mode up here. So let's get this kind of oriented the way that we like. And try to make this sort of straight so that that bottom is making sense. There we go. It's pretty close. I'm actually going to turn it a little bit. Now, this gizmo, you can see it's all pointing in different directions. If you unlock it and hit this little reset here, it'll reset it based on the orientation of your home, your world, I guess. And there we go. So now it's straight. We'll turn it a little bit so that it's, you know, perpendicular to the camera. We'll reset that again. These little buttons up here, little icons, each do their own thing. So that this one centers it to the masked area. So if I mask this, let me actually put the mask in lasso mode too. So that's B, M, L, and that'll make a lasso mask. Here we go. Oops. So now we've got that. So if you hit this little button here, it'll center it to the unmasked area, which is convenient. So there's our hand. So the basic setup. Now we can always move that around later if we want. There's nothing to worry about as far as that goes. So let's save this. I saved one earlier, but I'm going to save over that one because I didn't really start it. So we'll say ZBrush work. That's where I keep all my 3PO stuff. You can see here. C3PO handful G2 version, because I'm going to do some mods to this one. Sorry if I'm speaking a little quietly. My wife is writing on the couch, or right around the corner. I don't want to interrupt. Yes. She said, I heard that. So basically, let's see what I want to do. I want to take this little piece off the bottom here, and we can do that by hiding this. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do it the opposite way. I'm going to hide the hand as much as possible. We'll scale down our little brush just so it's not imposing. Come in here, zing away all these little bits. Now I'm still using that the hide tool, hide by lasso. So again, the green makes it stay, the red makes it go away. And it's not deleted, it's just sort of hidden, and you can unhide everything whenever you want. That's very handy. If you've used ZBrush before, I'm sure all these features are very familiar. Sorry. Whoops. Another thing too is if you drag the tool and then you miss the spot, it'll reverse your selection. So that's a thing to note. It can be very useful. I use that all the time actually. So we have kind of our little stand here, which is going to make more sense later. Now, just for the sake of time, I'm probably going to only do some of the mods on camera, and then I'll get to the rest on my own. Let's see. So now we've got this little base. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to shift to, see, I just turned on all the wireframe. That over here is your polyframe. And what it does is it shows you kind of where all the pixels are, and or the pixels, the geometry, the pixels as they call them in ZBrush, Pixols. You can turn the lines on and off, or the color. So it's got a fill color, still looks the same, but we want to do a polygroups with this. So you go to polygroups, and you can do it in here. You just say auto groups or group mask, or whichever one you want to do it. And then the shortcut to that is Control W. Let me turn this on so we can see. So now I'll undo that. Control W, and you can see it changes colors. If I keep hitting, it'll just keep changing colors. It's just assigning a polygroup to the exposed piece. And so now we've got this, and we can hide this by Control and Shift, or Command and Shift if you're on a Mac. You can click on the polygroup and it'll hide the rest, and then you can invert your selection like I showed you earlier. Control W, and we'll make a group for that one. So now you can see they're both colored, and now you can select whatever you need to work on them. So if you want to hide a piece, you can. But I'm actually going to use this to break these apart into different pieces. So how we're going to do that is up here in Subtool, you'll see we got our little hand, and we go down here to split, and we do group split. You say, this is not an undoable operation. You say, fine, I don't care. So now what we have is the hand and the little base are actually two separate pieces, kind of like Photoshop layers if you've used Photoshop, where if I go to solo now, it's just the hand. It's on its own geometry. And we're going to cap that hole on the bottom. And we're going to go down to geometry, modify topology. Oops, not that one. Not mesh integrity. Modify topology. I'm looking at this through my phone like a weirdo. So the buttons are really small. And then we go to close holes. Boop. And now we've got a hole in the bottom with its own poly group. As you can see, it's a little bumpy, but we're going to come back and fix that in a second. We'll go up to our subtool. We're going to switch to this piece, our little stand, and we are going to do the same thing. Geometry, modify topology. No, close holes. Where are we at? There we go. So now the top is closed. And we kind of want to smooth this out. It's got this weird rigidy thing here that if we go to print this, it's not going to be fun. So we're going to go to polish. We can go to brush, which is B, and then H, and that goes to H polish. And basically what that does is it helps you smooth things out a little bit. And it starts to flatten things out. It pushes in a little, but it disregards the things around the corners. So if I come up to an edge here, you can see it doesn't, stop. So I think my little pen is too sensitive. It keeps grabbing even when I see that. Like even when I take my hand off of the tablet, it still continues to turn just like that. So I might have to get a new nib for this thing. Ugh, so frustrating. So you can see if I go like this, it affects the area I'm pushing on, but it doesn't really do anything to the bottom. So that's good. And basically just with the brush, it sort of pushes inward, and if you hold down Alt, it pulls out a little bit. So I typically go back and forth. Oh my gosh, this is making me nuts. Yeah, sorry about the thing. It just keeps grabbing the object without me touching it, which is slightly annoying. So I'm going to just smooth out these sides here. I'll just smooth it. If you hold down Shift, it works as a smooth tool. Smooth everything out. Ugh, stop. You see when I go to let it go and it kind of comes back? It's because it's not letting go like it's supposed to. But the little nib on my stylus is wearing out, so I think that's probably why. I have to replace it. I think I've got some more. So anyway, I'm going to stop goofing with this. We can do this later. And now we can also grab the bottom here, and we're going to center this piece, pull this down, and we'll flatten this out a little bit. This will make more sense later. When I go to print this, I have an idea about how I'm going to set this up so that it'll print real nice with no supports. And that will save a lot of time and save a lot of cleanup in the long run. So we'll turn off solo. You can see got our hand. Super cool. Let me see something here. That's it. I don't know why I keep grabbing. It's fighting me. So anyway, we've got our hand, and we'll start doing some mods with this. Get our little gizmo centered up. Now, one of the things with these hands, they fit me as is. However, the thumb is particularly tight. So one really cool thing we could do is come in here and mod just the thumb. We're going to do our mask and hold down Alt so it masks everything but this little area like this. Hold down Alt. Oop. Now this section is masked. There we go. And if you hold Control or Command Mac and give a couple taps on the surface, it'll soften up your selection. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our little gizmo. We're going to pull it right to about here. Line this up so I'm looking at the direction I want. Line up the gizmo. see the gray outer ring is always aligned with our viewport. So no matter which way I turn this, this is always facing us. So I can line it up however I see fit, place this little guy, and then if I turn this, I can widen the top of the thumb just a tad bit. Now I'm just going to go a little bit here, not that much, maybe about there. And voila, our thumb is a little bit wider. I'm also going to do a couple another minor little adjustments. So what I just did is I went to brush and then move, which is M. If you hit the M key, it takes you to your M brushes, and then E, which is elastic. So brush, move, elastic, which is right here. This is a really good tool for morphing shapes a little bit. So I'm going to give a little bit of extra length on this thumb and kind of correct the shape just a tad so it doesn't look weird. And basically I'm going to get these things roughly sorted, and then off camera I'll go back and re-clean up everything. A couple other things here is that some of the fingers, if you can see, are sort of flattened out and weirdly shaped. And I think this is just because the parts had been remolded a few times. So I'm actually going to put this on solo mode so we don't have to, when I zoom out, I won't have to look at that stupid base there. But we can grab these fingers, we could mask them if we wanted to, like we did with the other piece, just so we don't affect anything that we don't want to. And just puff them out just a little bit. This is going to help them from being weirdly shaped. You can see it's real ovalized there. I don't think that's on purpose. And you can see because it was masked and hidden when I moved it, I got this little piece here, which is not a big deal. Just smooth that out. And you can see there's a lot of little junky stuff in here that is just gross. So it's going to take a lot of going over outside of what I'm showing you now, but oops, I'm going to show you just some of the basics that I would do here. And this one you can see it's got some little wonkiness going on. So basically I'll move it, smooth it, and see this finger is pretty weird. Give it a little extra scale. Now, another thing I'm thinking about doing is taking the whole hand and splitting the back side and the front side, and giving the whole hand just a little bit of extra space. And kind of how I'd handle that, and this is a really, really rough version, is I would go like this, and I'll select this here. I don't want to really affect anything that is viewable. So anything that a person would kind of see from the outside, I want to not affect too much, including maybe this thumb. Actually, I might even keep a little bit of thumb. I can widen it a hair. There's kind of a trick to this where you can mask just the facing, and you could probably pick the angle you want exactly and hit mask, and it will literally just mask what's visible, and then everything else wouldn't be masked. That would probably work well for this, but I'm not going to do that for this today. We're going to do it manually. We got one little weird spot right in here. Basically, I'm just going to cut through, and then, yeah, tricky. Same here. I think I'm going to keep this all as one piece and try to not mod it. So anyway, what I could do here is put my little gizmo in place, and then I could just pull this just a hair, and widens up the hand from front to back, gives a little extra room inside. But to the outside observer, they're still going to see this side of the hand. They'll never even recognize that anything is different. Not that they would, but And it's a little far, just a little bit. Might even actually come up here and just rotate it out. Now, here we go. Just a hair. That's just a tad bit larger. Another thing I'm going to do, which I won't get into here, is I'm going to go into some of these like deep set grooves, and I'm going to bump them out a little bit so they're not quite as deep on the inside, and that'll just make it a little bit more wearable hand for more people, a little easier to take on and off. Like I said, the hand by itself fits me. It's the same as basically the resin copies that people sell that are wearable. It's the same kind of setup, basically exactly the same size. But if I can mod this to make it easier, why not, right? So you can see there's some little weirdness here where I've modded this thing a little too hard. So the thing we can do is go to the Damien standard brush. I'm going to invert this like I always do, and come in here and kind of reestablish this line, sharpen it up a little bit. I'll go around to all the edges and probably hit them up one pass just to make sure that they're nice and sharp. I haven't done Dynamesh on this at all or anything yet, so it's still pretty. You can see the geometry is kind of wacky. You see it turn on the lines here. So you can see the geometry's all over the place. It looks like it was decimated at some point, which turns the geometry way down, and it'll print fine. But if you start editing it, it's probably best to eventually re-Dynamesh the surface so that it's the poly count is real even. You can get a better finish, which I'll do here shortly. But anyway, this is just the basics on kind of how to get in and get started modding things. If you have an STL file, you want to do some mods to it in Zbrush, this is a good way to do this. Just bring it into meshmixer or some other program that will read STL files, export in OBJ, and import into ZBrush, and then you can start working. So pretty fun. All right, so hopefully that was helpful. Again, I'm going to be printing these in 3D flexible filament, and if it works right, I will post the files to Thingiverse ready to go. As is, you'll see the whole shebang when they're done. I'm also going to do a version of the feet that will print in flexible filament, which I'm going to use to basically figure out if my models are correct before I go and print that elaborate mold thing that I was showing in a previous video. I still am going to make the 3D printed mold because I think that's going to be awesome, but I figure the flexible filament is a really good way to test and make sure that the scale and the size and everything is the way that I want before I waste my time making a whole bunch of prints for a mold that may or may not work. So that'll help guarantee that it does, and that'll be good. But I will probably be back like Friday with an update with the 3D printed hands if I have one finished. So we'll see you then. Thanks for stopping by. See you kids soon. Later, bye!